On News Prime, President Tinubu leads for India eyes foreign investment at G20 summit. Federal government expresses willingness to discuss with Labour. Akpabio charges Finance Committee to monitor remittances of revenue-generating agencies, plus thousands demand withdrawal of French soldiers in Niger. Hello and a very warm welcome to Global TV News Prime, live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I'm Wiyag Mofwebe. President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja on Monday to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi, India, on the invitation of India Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A statement released on Sunday in Abuja by Ajuri Ngalale, Special Advisor to Tinubu on Media and Publicity, says on the sidelines of the summit, the President will participate and deliver keynote addresses at both the Nigeria-India Presidential Roundtable and Nigeria-India Business Conference, stating that the CEO Roundtable will be attended by leading industrialists in the India private sector, Nigerian industrialists, as well as senior government officials from both countries. Ajuri said the President aims to leverage the platform to attract global capital and promote increased foreign direct investments, FDI, in key labor-intensive sectors of Nigeria's economy for job creation and revenue expansion. The presidential spokesman Tinubu said the President will seize the opportunity to highlight Nigeria's attractiveness as outlining his cross-sectoral reform plan as encapsulated in the Renewed Hope agenda. The federal government says it is ready to meet with Labour Union on Monday in its efforts to avert the Nigeria Labour Congress's swearing strike scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday. However, the Labour Union says there is no going back on the two-day warning strike, even as it affirmed that it remains open to negotiations with the government, despite breaking its previous promises. Already, some state chapters of the NLC say they are ready to proceed with the strike, while some others have said their executive committee would meet on Monday as a precursor to the strike. The NLC had, in a communique jointly signed by its president, Joe Ajaro, and National Secretary Emmanuel Ugbaja on Friday, that the decision to go on a nationwide strike followed the failure of the President Bola Tinubu-led government to dialogue with organized labor on efforts to cushion the effects of the removal of petrol subsidy on what Labour now calls the poor masses. Board all the ambassadors, including career and non-career. This was stated by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Chuga, through his aide, Qasim Abdulkadir, on Saturday. Former President Muhammadu Buhari had in July 2020 appointed 41 non-career ambassadors and 42 career ambassadors to head the nation's foreign diplomatic missions. The statement confirming the recall says ambassadors, as representatives of the country, serves at the behest of the president, and it is his prerogative to send or recall them from any country. And Niger State Governor Mohammed Bago has added 200 million naira to the 5 billion naira loan from the federal government as palliatives, making it 5.2 billion naira to be distributed to 270 wards in the state, even as he warned that any official who diverts the palliatives would go to jail. He said at a news conference yesterday in Minna, the state capital, that the amount given was a loan on which the state and local government would pay back 52% and the federal government 48%. Schools would be involved in the distribution to the wards, and each ward would get 10 million naira, except in Minna and Suleja, where each ward would get 20 million naira. He also said a 3-day public holiday for the distribution of palliatives to all 25 local government councils in the state would commence on Wednesday. Similarly, as part of efforts to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal on residents, Sokoto State Government has earmarked about 4 billion naira on food items to be distributed across the various local government areas. Briefing newsmen at the council chamber after the maiden State Executive Council meeting on Friday, the Commissioner for Religious Affairs, Jabi Mahula, said the state governor, Ahmed Aliyu, has approved the purchase of items to be distributed. According to the Commissioner, the State Executive Council members in its inaugural meeting had approved the purchase of 57,000 bags of 50 kg rice at the cost of 2.508 billion naira. The council also approved the purchase of another 26,000 bags of 100 kg millet. Jabril also said the items include another 44,000 bags of maize, which will be purchased by the state government in conjunction with the federal government. He explained that the governor would, however, set up a committee that would monitor the distribution of the foodstuffs across the 23 local government areas of the state. Elsewhere, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, says no fewer than 8.3 million Nigerians are in dire need of humanitarian assistance in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. Edu said the figure is part of the total 16 million Nigerians affected by various humanitarian crises, with 3 states worse hits. The minister said this in a statement by her special advisor on media and publicity, Rashid Zubair, on Sunday in Abuja, stating that aside the northeast, Benue in the north central had been tagged the capital of humanitarian crisis in Nigeria by the United Nations. She said the ministry had come up with innovative ways of thorough verification of the social register for acute upgrade, rejig, and expand the social safety net program to accommodate more people through a transparent process. You're watching Global TV News Prime, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We are on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles as you now see on your screen. When News Prime returns, Akpabio charges Finance Committee to monitor remittances of revenue-generating agencies. We have details of these and other stories for you right after this break. Do stay with us. This is Global Television broadcast on News Prime from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. As we turn to business now, President the Senate Committee on Finance to embark on aggressive oversight of revenue-generating agencies with a view to curbing revenue leakages in the country. Akpabio specifically directed the panel to scrutinize the remittances of the agencies and government-owned enterprises and make sure that all revenues they generate are properly deposited in the Federation accounts. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja on Sunday. The senator, who is representing Niger East Senatorial District at the National Assembly, said his panel was asked to ensure that all remittances are done in accordance with the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. The federal government has said it will demolish 2 multi-billion naira private jet terminals and aircraft hangars to pave way for the expansion of the newly inaugurated international terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, who made the disclosure during an inspection of facilities at the Lagos airports on Thursday, said the expansion of the apron size of the new Chinese-built terminal, which was opened in March of 2022. According to him, the apron size of the new international terminal is not adequate to accommodate jumbo planes operating international routes. Keyamo emphasized the need to provide a better traveling experience for Nigerian passengers passing through the airport. Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, says Nigeria has lost over 6 trillion naira to tax waivers. He said instead of granting tax waivers to businesses, the government should create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and pay more taxes. Oyedele told journalists that if Nigerians were paying the right taxes, the nation would have gotten an extra 20 trillion naira from tax collection annually. The current administration has said it would introduce tax reforms to phase out a multiple tax system and ensure Nigeria has a fair, convenient, and equitable tax system. The minister said government has planned for economic growth, job creation, access to capital, particularly to the ordinary Nigerians. He said the focus is on inclusivity, women, youth, and making all have the opportunity to come to the table and contribute to the economy. as well as focusing on security, rule of law, and anti-corruption. The move by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund to attract major international research grants to Nigerian scholars has received a massive boost as the European Union (EU) has committed to provide 440,000 euros to support shortlisted research teams in the country under the Horizon Europe project. According to a statement released on Friday in Abuja, Tokbe Togo, who heads TEDFund's team on the Horizon Europe program, made this known while briefing the executive secretary of the fund, Sonny Echono, on ongoing efforts to ensure Nigerian researchers' participation in the globally renowned research project. Togo identified the inability of Nigerian researchers to organize and prepare sufficiently for the Horizon project as one of the major impediments that prevented the decision of TEDFund to set up the team in order to clear all the hurdles. On his part, TEDFund's executive secretary said the agency is fully committed to ensuring Nigerian researchers are competitive in the international arena, adding that the fund is also targeting other global research bodies to attract grants for scholars in the country. On the foreign scene, tens of thousands of protesters had gathered outside a French military base in Niger's capital, Niamey, on Saturday, demanding that its troops leave in the wake of a military coup that Paris refuses to recognize.
Nous sommes ici pour exprimer notre détermination, notre engagement et notre dévotion à faire partir la force militaire française et toutes les bases militaires qui siègent sur notre territoire national.
The July 26 coup, one of 8 in West and Central Africa since 2020, has sucked in global powers concerned about the shift to military rule across the region. In the meantime, tensions between Paris may continue to mount as officials in Niger push for France's ambassador to be expelled from the country after stripping him of diplomatic immunity. On Friday, the authorities gave Ambassador Sylvain. The deadline was rejected by Paris, which does not recognize the government installed after a military coup in July. Faced by a paucity of funds, rumors are rife that the junta is seeking to obtain liquidity by any means, not hesitating to use force. The Sunny Bank of Niamey was alleged to have been forced to give 500 million West African francs to the pushists, who then financed the demonstration on August 6th at the Seni Kouché Stadium. There are fears that if the financial difficulties persist, the junta could also be tempted to seize private accounts under false pretenses. The Niger Republic has slipped further into socio-economic turmoil following the removal of President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26, with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, now demanding his immediate and unconditional reinstatement. Away from Africa now, Ukraine says Russia has launched a 3.5-hour drone attack on the southern parts of the Odessa region early on Sunday, hitting a Danube River port infrastructure and injuring at least 2 people. Ukraine's Air Force said and shut down 22 of the 25 Iranian-made Shahid drones that Russia launched on Odessa in the early hours of Sunday morning. Ukraine's South Military Command said on social media at least 2 civilians were injured in the attack on what it said was the civil infrastructure of the Danube. India's space agency at another milestone on Saturday with the launch of a probe to study the sun a week after a successful unmanned landing on the moon. Aditya L1 will carry scientific instruments to observe the sun's outermost layers, blasting off at 11:50 a.m. local time for its fourth-month journey. The United States and the European Space Agency have sent numerous probes to the center of the solar system, beginning with NASA's Pioneer program in the 1960s. However, if successful, the latest mission from the Indian Space Research Organization will be the first by any Asian nation to be placed in solar orbit. And now a quick look at sports. Nigerian long jumper SA the setback of the women's long jump final at the 2023 World Athletics Championships in Budapest, Hungary, as she claimed a bronze medal at the Chairman Diamond League in China. The 27-year-old who won bronze in the 2019 edition of the World Athletics Championships in Doha, Qatar, and earned a silver medal in Oregon, US in 2022 was one of Nigeria's brightest hope for a medal in Budapest. However, that dream was ended after Brume finished fourth in the final. Despite recording a season's best jump of 6.84 meters, her mark was not enough to give Nigeria a medal. As we end Global TV News Prime now, we take a quick look at our top stories. President Tinubu has been scheduled to leave for India Monday as he eyes foreign investment at G20 summit. The federal government has expressed willingness to discuss with Labour. Akpabio has urged Finance Committee to monitor remittances of revenue-generating agencies. And finally, we told you thousands have demanded withdrawal of French soldiers in the Niger Republic. And that's it on Global TV News. We are on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Uyag Mofwebe, thanking you very specially for spending a part of your time with us. I'll see you again.